Hello my sweeties and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we will be ranking the entire Halloween franchise. Let's get into the video. So, as you know, if you are watching this on the day it has been released, it is Halloween Kills Week and I have my ticket ready to go, so expect a full review of Halloween Kills on Monday. Also, let me know in the comments if you prefer me doing a spoiler-free review or including spoilers. I want to make sure I'm feeding you guys all the spooky content your little heart desires. Now, we have 11 films overall to get through, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before I jump into it, I do want to list the 5 different universes. The canon here is crazy. So we have Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 as the original canon. Halloween 1, 2, H2O, and Resurrection being another canon. Rob Zombie's 1 and 2, also its own canon. And now our current canon, which is Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018 and the rest of the David Gordon Green films. So now that that is out of the way, let's get into my number 11, and that is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. 1 year after the events of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, the Shape returns to Haddonfield once again in an attempt to kill his now mute niece. Okay, so this was definitely a huge disappointment. It does poorly in every single regard. Character arcs do not make any sense. The film looks pretty bad. It isn't shot very well. It is very, very bland. Hate that. It truly looks like any first-time director could have made this one. There is just absolutely no character to this. The story also is very boring, and to go from something interesting that had happened in Halloween 4 with Jamie to this was super whack. She doesn't speak in this one, so I absolutely hated that. I do also want to discuss the mask in this film specifically. The mask looks fucking crazy. Honestly, just overall, this film is pretty awful. Awful. Now at number 10, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Laurie Strode struggles to come to terms with her brother Michael's deadly return to Haddonfield, Illinois. Meanwhile, Michael prepares for another reunion with his sister. Okay, so this film, this is just not it. Now, before I say why I don't like this film, I do want to specify that I was very happy to see Danielle Harris and Malcolm McDowell. I just wish that they had a better story to tell. Malcolm McDowell, for me, was perfect casting for the role of Loomis, an icon filling in the shoes of another icon. We love to see it. Unfortunately, though, them being here does not save the film from overall being an absolute mess. The storyline here specifically makes absolutely no sense to me. Not to mention the way they wrote Laurie in this movie was ridiculous. I honestly have no personal gripe with Rob Zombie. I think that he is talented in his own ways. I just feel like this was not meant for him. Scout Taylor Compton is a good actress, but in the case of this film, all her character does is scream the word fuck too many times, and she's just incredibly obnoxious. I mean, Laurie would never. But honestly, we could do so much better here. If you're trying to tell a story about trauma, this is not it. The dream sequences is another thing that looks absolutely awful. The White Horse point was ridiculous as well, and to be honest, really made no sense. The film really does look like shit. Some of the editing is pretty bad, and the fact that we have so much of the film showing Michael on like this spiritual backpacking journey is just too much of a mess for me. Honestly, thank God that this stopped here because there is just too much fluff here and none of it did absolutely anything for Halloween. Now at number 9, we have Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Kids all over America want silver shamrock mask for Halloween. Dr. Daniel Chalice seeks to uncover a plot by Silver Shamrock owner Connell Cochran. Or Cochran. Okay, so I want to actually state first that this film is not at number 9 because Michael Myers isn't in it. I honestly could care less about that. I'm really not personally offended by it. If anything, I think that that's the most interesting part about this one. This film is just by no stretch of the imagination a good film. It's just not as bad as the worst ones and was to some degree technically made well. The camera work was okay. The film looks okay. The acting was okay. I mean, nothing is really worth discussing in this film. With that being said, there are very few redeeming qualities about this. Like, for me, it has that almost childlike quality to it that just doesn't connect with me. Honestly, it feels like a film that should have been on PBS. All right, and now at number 8, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween. After being committed for 17 years, Michael Myers, now a grown man and still very dangerous, escapes from the mental institution and immediately returns to Haddonfield to find his baby sister, Laurie. So, actually, let me be very open and honest with you guys. I used to really like this movie when it came out. I went to the theater to see this with my dad, and I remember I was terrified, and then I thought, like, this was so unbelievably cool and edgy and awesome. And I was just like, oh my god, I shouldn't have watched that, but I did. Like, I'm so cool. And you know what? I think it's a testament to how poorly many movies from the 2000s have aged. Coming out of the 80s and 90s, where most of the horror films didn't have too much depth in terms of storylines and character drama, I think that filmmakers in the 2000s kind of thought that making everything like super angsty and gritty added depth, but no. I honestly think this goes across the board too, like not specifically in horror movies. Movies like the Dark Knight trilogy always get referenced when discussing this topic, but I just feel that it was least effective in horror. Rob Zombie is definitely a pioneer in his style, and I think it does work for him well, but it just didn't fit with Halloween. Halloween is this very intimate story about Laurie and Michael's conflict, and Rob Zombie just did not nail that in my opinion. This is definitely more of an issue in part 2, but even in part 1, it feels too big. Also, I do want to point out that Rob just does not know how to write teenage girls, and it hurts his ability to tell this story authentically. Outside of the story, I think this film looks way better than part 2, and we get like a great Michael Myers, albeit a pretty extreme receding hairline.
Damn, son.
Now at number 7, we have Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. 6 years after Michael Myers last terrorized Haddonfield, he returns there in pursuit of his niece, Jamie Lloyd, who has escaped with her newborn child, for which Michael and a mysterious cult have sinister plans. Honestly, just reading that synopsis really makes me want to laugh. This movie is such a fucking mess. I truly do not even understand how this got greenlit. I want to say that this is another one where it just feels like they absolutely phoned it in. This entire story is just an absolute mess. I absolutely hated this entire thing. I hated Jamie having a baby and like now there's a cult involved. It's whack. It's boring. This is not what Michael Myers is all about. This is a mess. What was the point of this? I will say though, Paul Rudd is good in it, but he really has little to work with here, to be honest. Another thing I do want to say, I'll have to give some credit, I guess. I do really like the poster for this movie. I love the blue Michael Myers mask with the knife. I love it. But other than that, a pretty shit movie. That's it. Absolutely hated it. Poor storytelling, poor pacing, poor everything. Next at number 6, we have Halloween Resurrection. 3 years after he last terrorized his sister, Michael Myers confronts her again before traveling to Haddonfield to deal with the cast and crew of a reality show which is being broadcast from his old home. Okay, so the only reason for me this isn't the worst is because there is some kind of humor to this one. I think it's somewhat fun and still entertaining to watch, but I will not forgive how dirty they did Laurie in this film. I mean, that in itself was like a hot ass mess. Definitely seemed like they were just absolutely done and wanted to kill her off, and I was just not content with that. This definitely should not have been the movie where Laurie dies, friend. Like, abso-fucking-lutely not. And another thing I do want to say about this is Michael probably looks the worst he has ever looked, honestly. It really is the early 2000s eyebrows for me. Absolutely cursed. Now at number 5, we have Halloween 2. While Dr. Loomis hunts for Michael Myers, a traumatized Laurie is rushed to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, and the shape is not far behind her. I do like some of the lore here. I never really loved the idea of her being his sister, but if I'm being honest, it was the most interesting part of the movie. I think that Halloween 2 feels very similar to the first film, even though this one wasn't directed by John Carpenter. I also do like it all taking place in the hospital, but other than that, I will say this film was definitely riddled with production issues, and it's pretty clear when watching it. Now at number 4, we have Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. 10 years after his original massacre, the invalid Michael Myers awakens on Halloween Eve and returns to Haddonfield to kill his 7-year-old niece. So this movie, if you have been here watching my channel for a while, at this point you know that this was actually my introduction to the Halloween franchise as a kid, and it certainly scared the shit out of me because I was the same size as Danielle Harris. So this movie is definitely significant to me. But now, looking at it as objectively as possible, this film definitely lacks in certain areas. Michael's mask definitely does not look the best. We do not have really any interesting camera work here. This film definitely suffers from being a little bit too slow and could have definitely benefited from some better pacing and editing. The best part here for me is the twist ending with Danielle Harris. I think if you took all those aspects and Danielle Harris out of this film, it wouldn't really be anything special. She makes the film great. She is the reason, actually, that I love this one so much. Now at number 3, we have Halloween H2O. Laurie Strode, now the dean of a Northern California private school with an assumed name, must battle the shape one last time, as the life of her own son hangs in the balance. I know that this is a very plain and safe movie, but there are aspects here that are smart. Jamie Lee's input about the character of Laurie here definitely helps this film. I like the dynamic between Josh Hartnett and Jamie Lee Curtis. I think they worked really well together. The idea of her son taking more care of her than she does him is interesting and gives a lot more meat to the story. So I really did enjoy that. And if I'm being honest, this is my second favorite canon. I kind of feel like it should have ended here though. They definitely should not have done Resurrection. Now at number 2, we have Halloween 1978. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois to kill again. I am sure about 99.9% of you have seen this film. What is there to say? It's absolutely iconic. I love it, and I've loved it for a very long time. But if I'm sitting here being critical of it, I will say it is slow and the pacing is very much of a movie from that era. I'll also say that now, with the context of having seen movies that have copied and evolved the formula created by Halloween, the original feels a bit antiquated. I still love it though, but that is why it's numbered to the next movie on this list, which is Halloween 2018. Laurie Strode confronts her longtime foe, Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades ago. Unlike the Rob Zombie remakes, which just convoluted the story in an attempt to add depth, Halloween 2018 actually focuses on interesting character drama and fast-paced storytelling. It depicts generational trauma very well, and I think that was really necessary for the story. Honestly, as a woman myself who suffered from my own trauma, I felt a lot more connected to these women, especially to the character of Karen, and I think this can go for anyone who has suffered any trauma, really. I think David Gordon Green took a lot of inspiration from the older movies stylistically, but also updated it for the times, making it feel more relevant. I personally feel like a lot of movies copy the formula of these 70s and 80s movies, but miss just why this formula worked in the first place, which is that it was relatable for viewers at that time. Teenage characters in the 2010s should feel like, well, teenagers from the 2010s. They shouldn't be written like the 80s, and Halloween 2018 understood the assignment 100%. Also, I really never thought that out of all the people to understand Halloween best, one of them would be this guy.
Bug life.
Alright, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps me a lot. And be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And also, do not forget to check out my brand new Patreon page. All the links for all of my socials will be in the description box below. Any and all support from you guys means the world to me, so thank you so much for that. Oh my god, I just hit myself in the face. Let me know in the comments, how would you rank the Halloween franchise? Which one is your favorite and why? Have you not seen all of them? And also, don't forget to let me know if you would like a spoiler-free or a spoiler review of Halloween Kills. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!